My Goodreads goal for 2020 was 35 books. I read 62. That is by far the most I've ever read in a year. Last year I read 32 out of 35. For that I read 37 out of 25, so I completed that year's challenge as well. But other than this year in 2018, I completed none of the challenges. They're all very sad looking. I used to keep setting 50 books as my challenge, and I had to stop because I never read 50 books. And I read 62 this year. I'm so impressed. Like, for a lot of people, that's not actually that much. For me, that's a crap ton. I didn't realize how much it was until I started pulling the books off my shelf for this video, and they look like a hot mess right now, and there's these giant gaps in there. I reorganized them the other day, and then I make this video and just pull them all off. Great. I finished my undergrad this year. Wow. And I can say undergrad because I'm currently doing a postgrad. I was doing a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature and Creative Writing. I was joint honours, but I was a little bit creative writing heavy. And I'm now doing a master's degree at a different university in creative writing. So because of that, you know, English and creative writing, I need to do a lot of reading. A lot of these books are uni books. I do videos where I wrap up the books I read for uni and my thoughts on them and stuff. I am a bit behind. What's new? I do intend to keep on making them, so I'm gonna try not to go in too much detail, but I will show you quickly which ones I read for which. So I had a literature module which was focused on, I think it was postmodern plays, so a lot of the plays that I showed you, these ones, if you can see them, were for that module. I also did an autobiography module for creative writing, so that's where The Diving Bell and The Butterfly and Fun Home came from. The autobiography of Alice B. Tallclass also came in handy for this one. For my dissertation in my undergrad, I wrote the beginning 2 chapters of a novel, and that is the novel I'm continuing to work on in my MA. It's set in 1920s Paris, and it follows queer relationships, and so a lot of the reading I had to do is researching 1920s Paris and getting a flavour for queer representation in other texts. I started that research in 2019. So some of these I read from my dissertation, and then some of them I've been reading in my MA. Gertrude Stein again, Stir Fry, Carol, The Maids, Lydia's Steptoe Stories by Juna Barnes, Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, and Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, Colette's Claudine at School, and The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall. I did a historical fiction module, which is obviously very helpful. All of these texts were for that class. And then the rest are books that I read for funsies. I read quite a few graphic novels this year. I reread Pumpkinheads, and I loved it just as much. I read volumes 3 and 4 of Saga. After reading these, all I wanted to do was read more. And I've been holding off on them for so long because I know that the last one that we have currently out ends on a cliffhanger. But then my uncle bought me all of the rest of them that are currently out for Christmas. So resisting the temptation to carry on with these is gonna be tricky. I probably will just carry on with them. I also read volumes 3 through to 5 of Monstrous, and I also started a couple new ones. We have Something is Killing the Children. I wasn't wowed by this first one, but I'm intrigued. And the last thing I read this year was The Magic Order, which I love the premise of this, but it went by so fast. Each issue, each little comic could have been a whole graphic novel in my opinion. It's a shame because it's such a cool concept. Should I talk about the series that I completed? I read so many series this year, like a lot from start to finish. Finished the original trilogy of the Miss Peregrine's Home Peculiar Children trilogy, completely on a whim, didn't mean to. I saw that the audiobooks were online for free. Audible was still doing that thing. I'll link it down below. I had a lot of fun. The narrator did such a good job. I think his name was Jack Kirby, but that sounds like Jack Kirby from Marvel. I also read the Mara Dyer trilogy and the 2 Noah Schul companions. These were just on my shelf forever. When I was starting to finish my undergrad, I really just wanted to read something for fun. I had a little bit more time on my hands, and I devoured these. I had so much fun with them. Evolution's my favorite of the series. I have videos for all of the Mara Dyer books and both of the Noah Schul books. I read the majority of the Grisha books that are out, Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. I really like this world. I don't feel completely connected to the world in the way that I want to. I have King of Scars. I'm waiting for Rule of Wolves to come out, which is coming out this year as well. I've got that baby pre-ordered. I reread Illuminae earlier this year as part of the booktubeathon. I did the booktubeathon this year, and I think that might have boosted my reading because I did pretty well, I thought. And then I read Gemina not soon after, and then I read Obsidio in December. So I finished this trilogy. This trilogy is one of my absolute all-time favorites. These two on their own merits are two of my all-time favorite books. And then the last one, perhaps the most impressive of the achievements and the one that's brought me the most pride. Is that the right word I'm looking for? I don't want to say gratitude because that's definitely not the right word I'm looking for. Pride? It's made me proud of myself. I don't know. It's the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Here they are. I'm putting them down now. I had so much fun reading this. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely my favorite series. But in the beginning when I was reading them, I wasn't loving every single book individually. Really enjoying them. Like 8 out of 10 I think is the lowest I gave any of these. As I kept reading, it became very apparent that as a collective, I adore this series. Like, I think of it as a series rather than individual books because the way she crafted it is genius. The way the pieces come together, apart from Kingdom of Ash, that's the only one that didn't quite come together the way like I felt like it could or should. I know I'm behind on this series, and so that's why I'm so proud of being up to date. My favorite was Empire of Storms. The way that things like came together in that one. I also really like Queen of Shadows, and at the time I wasn't clicking with them. It was weird. There was something that was making me not give them the 10 out of 10. And then Empire of Storms came and like that barrier lifted. Like all of a sudden I was attached. So I feel like if I were to reread them now, whatever it was that was stopping me from committing and loving them, that I don't think will be a problem anymore. I can't wait to read more of hers. I really want to read everything she's put out by the end of 2021 and be up to date. I love this series so much that I had to have the collector's edition of Throne of Glass, and I also have this really cute little mini one, and now I want all of them. I'm now Throne of Glass trash, apparently. Let's go through the other Goodreads stats while I have them up. So I read 62 books, 20,985 pages. The shortest book I read was the Lydia Steptoe stories that I have no opinions on whatsoever. And easily the longest book I read was Kingdom of Ash at 984 pages. This is the longest book I've ever read. The average book length I read was 338 pages. The most popular book I read was Throne of Glass. 1,000,000,000,200 big number. Big number. 1211147. And the least popular was this one with only 504. Average rating was 3.7 stars. I hate the star system. The highest rated on Goodreads that I read was Crooked Kingdom. Wow, that's not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. With an average rating of 4.57. Kingdom of Ash is there. I don't know where else to put it. Just don't look at it. The prettiest books of the year. I mean, I feel like this one deserves a little shout out. It's got these little gold shiny dots on it which look like sequins. The spine is different from the front. It is just a really nice book as far as like adult books, especially published in the UK go. These ones are really fun with the dust jackets that do that, but I don't know if I'd say the covers are particularly beautiful. These ones have really pretty colored pages. I'm like not actually answering the question. I'm just like picking out random things that I like about books. Well, I don't love the covers of these ones, and I really prefer the old editions before they changed the cover. Spines on these are pretty gorgeous. They do look really nice on the shelf. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children books, they have really creepy covers, and I do really love the aesthetic of these books. In fact, actually maybe it's this one because I love the colors. I love Selena. I also really love the color scheme on Throne of Glass. I think that one's gorgeous. And while this one's bright yellow and it is a different texture from the rest and it doesn't match the rest as well, it is pretty beautiful to look at. Let's talk about my least favorite books of the year. My Name is Red. And The Leopard. I didn't particularly enjoy The Leopard particularly. It's not like I have anything against it. It was a chore to get through. Felt quite dense. It doesn't stick in my mind, I think, very well. The Duff was fun while reading it, but I don't really think about it. I don't think it was particularly skilled, and I feel so bad saying that, but it very much felt like she was very young when she wrote this, and it very much felt like something a young person had written who had a lot of experience with writing. Oh, the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas. It's not that it was bad, it's just that I found it really, really boring and I couldn't get through it. The least favourite book that I read, it was so bad that I didn't actually finish it, but I read enough that I'm counting it. And so that brings us nicely on to my favourite books of the year, which, as before mentioned, I haven't actually thought about. Picking a favourite of the year, I don't know if I can do it. I did one for Instagram. If you don't know, I have a bookstagram at Jade Courtney Books. It's one of those things, I think I say this every year, like if you put a gun to my head, that's what I'll say. But I don't actually have a lot of conviction in my thinking that it's like my favourite book of the year. I more so think of like my favourites of the year. I'm gonna give Illuminae an honourable mention, but because this was a reread, I'm not gonna count it. This is one of my favourite books of all time though. I'll give an honourable mention to The Evolution of Maradar. I think I give this a 9 out of 10. Did really love reading this. Okay, I think I have a top 5. It's not hard for me to kind of figure out that these are roughly my favourite books of the year. Again by E. Lockhart. I loved analysing this book. I love E. Lockhart's books. She also wrote We Were Liars and Genuine Fraud along with other ones, but I've only read those 2. I just thought it was so clever. I can understand it not being for everyone, but the way she handled it, if you read it, you know what I'm talking about. The way it looks at love and analyses love and mental health. Oh, it's just got so many great things going for it. Gemina by Amy Kaufman and J. Christoph, the second book in the Illuminae files. As I just said, love Illuminae. Equally, I think I love Gemina just as much as Illuminae. Like, I can't think of which I prefer of the 2. Originally, I was thinking Illuminae, but I loved the characters. I love that it takes place in like roughly 24 hours. It was so much fun, and it made me really emotional. And I didn't see certain things coming that, looking back, I should have seen them coming. And it's genius the way they do this. Empire of Storms. I keep second guessing whether this is actually my favourite Throne of Glass book. But it's that thing where the way it ties in, the way it like brings all the things that we've been looking for and all of the metaphors and stuff that we've had so far together, and oh, it was good. It was really good. It's weird because now that the more I think about it, the majority of the characters that I love, I didn't like them in this one. It's just my favourite. It just is the way it's crafted. I think it's great. I think Queen of Shadows, after rereading it, would also be, I think, on this level just because of how fun it is. I think everyone's at their best. These 2, I'm pretty sure they're my favourite books I read this year. These are the ones that have been on my mind the most having read them. Like, I can't stop thinking about either one of these, you know, from the moment I shut the book. This is How You Lose the Time Warp by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. At the time, I was really hesitant to give it a 10 out of 10. It's because I didn't understand everything, and there were times where I was skimming things a little bit, but I don't care because the story is so beautiful, so cleverly done. Like, I loved analysing this one as well. A lot of little snippets and scenes and things have really stuck with me. I really love it. It's really, really stuck with me. Like, since having read it, my love for it has intensified. This is what I said on Instagram. I said my favourite book was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I adored this. I was sat in my seminar for it. People were faulting it, and in my mind, I was justifying the things they were like saying this book didn't do very well and stuff like that. In my mind, I can't fault it. I had a lot of fun reading it. I think there's a lot to analyse, the way that modern themes are displayed and explored in this book. It's a retelling of a Greek myth. I love Greek myths, and it's reignited my love of Greek myth. I love the relationship, I love the characters, I love the writing. It's quite simple, but it's also really beautiful. It's really easy to read, it's really accessible, but it's also really clever, and it's got so much emotion, and I just love it. It makes me get all hot and bothered thinking about it. Should we wrap up with some goals for 2021? Like I said, I really want to catch up with Sarah J. Maas. That's like the big goal that I had in mind for this year. Not to necessarily catch up with Sarah J. Maas, but be more caught up than I am, and I'm very, very happy with having read the whole of the Throne of Glass series. So I have Crescent City and the first 3.5 books in the ACOTAR series. Hoping I at least read all of Sarah J. Maas' books that comes out this year. After that, my next big project would be to catch up with Cassandra Clare, because I'm really behind. I've read The Mortal Instruments and I've read The Infernal Devices, and that's it. I don't think I would have caught up by the end of the year. I'd really love it though if I could reread the Skulduggery Pleasant series. I had read the first 7 books along with the Maleficent 7. I never read the last 2. I started 8 and I never finished it, and I never read 9, which is the last one. I know he's bringing out more now, but I read this series growing up. I read them as they were coming out. Well, I obviously was a little bit behind, but these were my Harry Potters essentially. And I never finished them, and I loved this series so much, and I think about it so fondly. It upset me like every time I thought about it to no end, the fact that I haven't finished it, and so I'm doing it. I want to finish it. I'm gonna reread the first 7 and read 8 and 9, I hope. Sarah J Maas and Skulduggery Pleasant, those are my 2 big goals for next year. If I read them, then I'm happy. I'd also just like to keep up reading for fun, because that was something I wasn't really doing alongside my undergrad until I read Mara Dyer. You know, I fell off the bandwagon a little bit in my MA. I finished Good Kingdom and I read some graphic novels, and then I kind of stopped for a while. I'm hoping that I start reading for fun again. Set my Goodreads goal to 45 books. I would love it if I could read 65 though. That is everything I have for this video. Please let me know what your favorite reads of 2020 were, how many books you read this year. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye. All of the Mara Dyer, no, everything's falling. That I had to have the collector's different. The most popular book I read. Oh, okay. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. Okay, let me try.